All right, everyone, welcome once again to this very informative session about Carmelita Gardens. Carmelita Gardens is one of my favorite master plan communities in the Cayo district here in Belize, and I'm very excited to share this information with you. I'm going to expect that the session will be about 30 to 45 minutes, but we are recording it. So if you have any questions that pop up, you can always type that into the Q&A section if you're listening live, or afterwards you'll be able to tune into the recording. So my name is Rachel Jensen. I'm broker owner of Realty Belize. We are a real estate firm here in the country of Belize. I have been here in the country for the last 12 years. And I have to say the Cayo district is one of my favorite parts of the country. We split our time between Ambergris Caye and Cayo is where we really find our hearts to be for many reasons, but it's just a really incredible place. It's known for its jungles, lush landscape, rivers, mountains, Mountain Pine Ridge, events like you can see there on the top, the Ruta Maya canoe race that happens every February, March. It's just a really fun district and a district that lends itself really, really well to raising a family as well. I know there are a few of you on the line here who I've spoken to before who know our family. And what we find here is that there's just such a warm, welcoming environment and many things to do with family members and kids. Of course, the Cayo district is a great place to have pets, whether they're domesticated like little puppies that you see there on the screen, or if you are looking for something more like a horse or chickens, this is really the district that you want to be in. The Cayo district really is referred to as the breadbasket of the Caribbean for a handful of reasons, but primarily because of the agricultural heartland that we have here. Again, going back to the soil, the lush landscape. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But if you're somebody who enjoys being on the river, you're somebody who's family oriented, perhaps you're thinking about, you have kids and you want to raise kids, you can do that in the Cayo district. Perhaps you just want to relax, retire. There's many opportunities for you to do that as well. So again, Cayo district known for hiking, river tubing, swimming, waterfalls, pontoon excursions, fun events like the canoe races. And then of course, one of the biggest is the sustainability aspects. Cayo, I'd say, is the district in Belize where we do tend to find the most number of off-grid properties and self-sustaining properties. And a lot of that is because the district lends itself well to having water access in order to be off-grid from the water perspective. And then, of course, a lot of sun. But what's on our agenda today? So we're going to talk a little bit more about Belize and why it is a hotspot, why so many foreigners are calling Belize home, and more specifically, why they're spending time here. In addition to that, we'll recap Carmelita Gardens, talk more about why Carmelita Gardens is a place where many expats are coming to, and then do a live Q&A. And I do have a couple of developer specials as well. So stay to the end. We're going to cover those. And then, of course, we're going to answer your live Q&A. So again, as you have Q&A, type those into the Q&A section of the control panel, and we'll get those questions answered for you. So first and foremost, welcome to Belize. I am from New York originally, but made my way down here to Belize in 2012. And it wasn't necessarily for retirement or trying to escape the crazy politics or to be a snowbird. It was simply because I found really incredible opportunities here. And I was working with a real estate developer at the time. I was with them for 10 years from 2012 to 2022. And what I saw during that 10 years was just an incredible amount of growth happening within the country. And so I decided after leaving the developer in 2022 to stay in the country. This is my home. This is where my partner is. This is where our baby is, our dogs. And as I spent more time in the country going around, it was really the Cayo district where my heart landed. It's also where my partner is from, in the Bullet Tree Benque area. So we spend quite a bit of time out there. So population-wise, it's a small country, about 400,000. And size-wise, it's about the size of Massachusetts. So even though it's a small country, there's a lot going on in Belize, and all of the different districts have their own flair to them. They each have their own vibes, for lack of a better word. And depending on what you're looking for will depend where in Belize you're looking. So do note that the Belize currency is pegged to the US dollar. It's 2 Belize to 1 US dollar. So I will just say, though, for real estate, expect to see that in US. Many transactions that are happening in the country are within foreigners. So you'll tend to see the real estate price in US dollars unless otherwise noted. One of the biggest reasons that we're seeing people are choosing Belize out of all of the other countries within Central America and Mexico is because English is the official language. Now, you'll hear a lot of Spanish, being that we border Mexico and Guatemala. You'll hear a lot of Creole. You'll hear Caribbean Creole quite a bit. And it's not uncommon for you to hear the three languages, English, Spanish, and Creole, in one sentence for many of the locals. But this is a very reassuring thing for many foreigners who are looking to spend time here in Belize. I don't know about you, but I know learning another language and trying to integrate into a country where the language spoken may not be your primary language is fairly difficult, and it can be very stressful. So here, as long as you know English, you'll be good to go. Spanish will, of course, help in some areas, but English is the primary and official language of the country. So this country really came on the map in the 70s for the diving, fishing, and snorkeling, and the jungle trekking. So you can see right over here on the coastline of Belize, there's a handful of keys, little islands. There's over 300 keys off the coast of Belize mainland. And in addition to that, you have the reef that parallels Belize. And so this reef is one of the big reasons why Belize came on the map, specifically for divers and snorkelers, fishermen, people who wanted to be within close proximity to the marine life. Now, with that being said, a lot of time has passed. 40, 50 years has passed since Belize was really starting to enter the map for those adventure travelers. And it has since become more of a mainstream destination, a place where you don't necessarily need to have a niche interest like diving or fishing or snorkeling to really enjoy the country. Belize generally is a very safe location. Of course, like anywhere in the world, there are certain pockets where you may not necessarily want to be going, but chances are there's no reason for you to be going anywhere near those locations. But typically you do tend to find those more so in Belize City. Generally, as a whole, though, the country is a very safe, welcoming, and accommodating place, especially for foreigners that are coming in. But now, as the country has continued to expand and not just be that adventure niche market, we're finding many people are coming. It's been fun to see over the years as the demographic of visitors has changed so significantly to include not just the typical honeymooners and couples who are coming down, but families with young children, families bringing their parents or their grandparents down, whole family reunions that are happening here, bachelorette parties. It's just neat to see how it's all expanded. But you can see, because it is such a small country, it was overshadowed by countries like Costa Rica and Mexico for such a long time. So Belize is really just starting to make itself known, put itself on the map, which is really exciting to see. So we're seeing over the years, as Belize is becoming more popular, as there's more of a demand from people wanting to get to Belize, we're continuing to see additional direct flights coming into the country. So for a long time, I remember when I first started coming here in 2012, there were flights from Houston, Miami, maybe Chicago. Now we're starting to see more and more direct flights coming in. We call it there was the Southwest effect when Southwest started flying into the country. And now, in addition to that, this past year, JetBlue has added direct flights from New York and Baltimore. And also United has welcomed a direct flight as of this November, coming direct from San Francisco. So there are many airlines that are coming into the country. It's still not easy to get here from all over North America. There are going to be many locations where you'll still have to have that layover, but it certainly is getting easier. Now, I personally see that as opportunity. If it was really easy to get here by everyone in the world, so many more people would be here. But we are starting to see that more and more flights are coming, more new direct routes are starting to come to the country. So the country really and truly is on the rise. We have heard murmurs and rumors about a direct flight from Europe at some point, whether it's going to be London, with this being a former British colony, whether it's London, or perhaps it'll be, I heard France at one point too, Paris. So I don't know. We don't have that confirmed yet. That was just hearsay, some rumblings in the airport. But of course, that will be expanding the market quite a bit of who is coming into Belize. Now, many people are coming to Belize as real estate investors or to relocate here as expats for a handful of reasons. I worked throughout Central America, throughout Latin America for 10 years with a real estate developer. But what we continue to see were people coming and gravitating towards Belize. What I find is Belize is a very easy first step. If you've never spent time abroad, or maybe you're just looking to relocate somewhere where you don't have to learn another language, this is one of the most foreigner-friendly places for people to go. And as a result, we have a very strong expat population here. But a few reasons how it is foreigner-friendly, like we talked about, English is the official language. This really is a game changer if you're planning to spend time here. I mean, something as what should be simple as setting up your internet or setting up cable. If you don't know the language, in the country that you're living in, trying to do those little tasks will become a lot more burdensome. So here, all you have to do is call them up, message them on WhatsApp, say you want internet, and they'll come out to your house and get that sorted for you. No translations necessary. In addition to that, foreigners receive title to their property. This is huge. This is significant because I know in our neighboring country, Mexico, foreigners get leases to their coastal property. Here in Belize, it doesn't matter where your property is located. All foreigners receive title to their property. It's yours. You can hold on to it for life. You can pass it down to your heirs. You can sell it at any point, completely up to you. And in addition to that, we have attractive residency options. I can go more through that in another session. I'll put, for those of you who are going to be listening on YouTube later, I'll send out the link to that residency session in the description below on YouTube. Otherwise, if you want more information about residency, reach out to me and I can send those over to you. But there are two primary programs: a permanent residency program. You have to be in country for 50 out of 52 weeks, or there's a QRP program that's for the first year. So once you meet that qualification of being in the country 50 out of 52 weeks, then you can apply for permanent residency, or the other is a retiree residency. You only have to be in country 30 days out of the year, and you have to show that you have an income coming in that is from a passive source. So whether it's a retirement, it's about $2,000 a month, you have to show whether it's going to be through investment property, through a pension, whatnot, but it has to be through passive income. So they make it quite easy. If you're not necessarily ready for a residency here, or you're not really sure what you want to do, then it's just every 30 days, you'll go to the immigration office and get your passport stamped. You'll show that you own property here, and they won't give you a hard time about it. So very, very foreigner friendly. We understand too, as a country, that it really is built on tourism. So they do tend to welcome foreigners quite well here. But we're going to be focusing in on the Cayo district. The Cayo district is one of the fastest growing districts in Belize. I would say since COVID, we have just seen real estate prices in this district continue to double, triple, in some cases quadruple, depending on where it is. During COVID, a lot of people realized that, number one, they don't necessarily have to live where they're living, especially if they can work remotely. And number two, they may not necessarily want to be connected to the grid. And what you tend to find in Cayo are a lot more self-sustainable off-grid options compared to other parts of the country. And then the third reason we saw a lot of people coming during COVID is because there's land. There is significant land in the Cayo district where you're able to come in and you can purchase for very affordably, half an acre, 10 acres, 30 acres, 100 acres, depending on what it is you're looking to accomplish. But this district as a whole has about 100,000 people. And the primary towns here are San Ignacio, Santa Elena, Spanish Lookout, San Antonio, Belmopan. I'm going to mention and highlight two of these. One of them is Spanish Lookout. That is a Mennonite town. And it's really quite fascinating. The Mennonites really run the produce and agricultural industry here. And their main, we'll say headquarters, their main town is in the Cayo district. And it's actually only about 7 miles away from Carmelita Gardens. And then also Belmopan. Belmopan is the capital for the country. So if you're trying to go through residency, if you need to go to a government office for the lands department, that is all going to be in Belmopan, which is about 45, I'd say an hour away from Carmelita Gardens. I guess it depends on how you're driving, but let's say an hour if you're following the speed limits and taking your time over the speed bumps. But like we were talking about, Cayo is really well known for the farming and agriculture. You will find a lot of produce that is coming out of the district, primarily because of the fertile soil. In addition to that, Mayan ruins, there are tons of Mayan ruins throughout this district, rivers, cave tubing. It's just really the perfect environment for somebody who enjoys being outdoors, hiking, for example. Mountain Pine Ridge is one of my favorite parts of the entire country, where it doesn't even feel like you're in Belize. You have the red clay and pine trees, and that is here in the same district. There's also one golf course in the country, and that is in the Cayo district. So if you're a golfer, you can frequent that one golf course if golfing is important to you. If you are going to be spending some time out here and you're a bit adventurous, I'd recommend going to the ATM caves. Caves is a cave that you can wade through. It's a little bit of wading and swimming and climbing up on some rocks, but they have old Mayan artifacts in this cave. So it used to be a sacrificial area for the Mayans, and you can actually crawl through and see some things that were left behind, including pottery shards. And there is even a essentially deceased body in there, which is pretty neat to see, a Mayan body. It's been preserved and everything, but it's really quite fascinating. So like we mentioned, this is the fastest growing district, and where you see this red pin, this is part of the Cayo district. And you can actually see, if you follow my cursor, this is the outline of the district over here. And you can see all the little villages and towns and everything that make up the Cayo district. In addition to that, like we talked about, it is the breadbasket of the Caribbean. So they do refer to it for the entire Caribbean because of everything that's being produced here, including the produce, cattle, poultry being here in the Cayo district. In addition to that, like we mentioned, there's a handful of Mayan ruin sites and archaeological landmarks in the Cayo district that are being incredibly well preserved. And you have that right there. And like we also talked about, it's an off-grid mecca. So this tends to be an area where it's more self-sufficient than other parts of the country. A lot of that is because of all the different waterways through the Cayo district, the rivers, the waterfalls. It just is very, very easy access to water. So it's pretty neat to see. Like I mentioned, it's a small country about the size of Massachusetts, but each of the different districts really offers something different. And to go from Belize City, if you can follow my cursor, Belize City is right over here. Over to the Cayo district, it's about an hour and a half to get into San Ignacio. There's Belmopan. Belmopan's about 45 minutes from Belize City. So here's again the Belize City. Go down the highway. Right over here is Belmopan, about 45 minutes from Belize City to Belmopan, and then about 45 minutes an hour to get over here to San Ignacio. And then Carmelita Gardens is located again in the Cayo district. And in total, I'd say it takes about an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours to get from Carmelita Gardens back into the heart of Belize City. So with that being said, let's just jump right in and let's go to Carmelita. I know that's why many of you are here. So we mentioned San Ignacio. San Ignacio is one of the biggest towns in the Cayo district. Its sister town is right over here. This is called Santa Elena. So between Santa Elena and San Ignacio, you have a lot of activity going on here. You have restaurants, you have events. I know we were out there for Halloween and wanted to take our son to do some trick-or-treating, and there were a lot of the different local establishments that had trick-or-treating available, and people, little kids dressed up, and it was pretty neat to see that. But from Carmelita Gardens to get into San Ignacio, and again, you're looking more into going into the heart of San Ignacio, it takes about 20 minutes. It's about 7 miles in total. There is some talk right now about a bridge that'll be going from Santa Elena over here to Carmelita. Here's Carmelita. And so we're really excited about that. I know that they have been surveying it, and you can actually see the road that they've started to put in. And then once they'll do the bridge over here. And so going from Santa Elena to Carmelita will just take about 5 minutes. So you'll have very, very quick access to go into the heart of it. As you can see here on the screen, there's hospitals. There are clinics also in Santa Elena and San Ignacio, but also worth noting is that Carmelita Gardens is just half a mile from Santa Familia town. You can follow my cursor right over here. About half a mile, you have your grocery store. There's a gym over there now. So you do have quick access right around the corner if you forgot the eggs or if you need to do some more shopping. And then in addition to that, Carmelita is only about 7 miles away from Spanish Lookout. Spanish Lookout, I mentioned to you, is the primary town for the Mennonite community. It's where you're able to get some really incredible woodworking. You can get the freshest, organic, free-range eggs from. You can get meats. You can get everything from Spanish Lookout. So it's neat to have best of both worlds, be close to Spanish Lookout and also be close also to San Ignacio. And that'll be fantastic once that bridge is connected, because that is just going to be such easy access to get into the twin towns over here. So really exciting. It's a really great location. It's one that I'm very personally fond of. It's why I'm talking to you about it today, because I do see it as an area, Carmelita Gardens specifically, as an area that many are looking to spend time in. So meet the developer. If you haven't yet had the chance to meet Phil Hahn, he is an incredible guy. He was doing residential real estate and designing in Florida for about 3 decades. And he's been spending, I'd say, about the last 2 decades more so though in Belize. There was a project that he started about 2 decades ago in the Corozal district of the country. And then in 2010, he founded Carmelita Gardens. Carmelita is about 100 acres, 98 acres if you want to be exact. And what's really neat about Carmelita is over the last 14 years, Phil has really started to create this little village. And as he was looking at land and looking at the perfect place for this off-grid community, off-grid village, he landed in Cayo. Cayo obviously is a top choice for being off-grid, self-sustainability. Also that prime location of being close to the 2 towns we talked about, San Ignacio and Spanish Lookout, made it really make sense. At that time, it was primarily a cattle pasture. So you'll get to see how much Carmelita has grown over that 14 years. So you can see right over here, this is the outline of Carmelita, about 98 acres in total. And I do want to share this with you before we jump a little bit more into the map, is that Carmelita Gardens is intentionally off-grid. Now in Santa Familia, just right up the road, a couple feet up the road, you do actually have the electricity lines, you do have internet, the fiber optics internet, you have all of that there. But it was really important for Phil to be creating this community where people could live independently, but also coexist because of the commonalities that they have. And I love the slogan, it's independent together. So at this time, there were over 220 lots when they were first starting the property. At this time, there are less than 25% of those home sites remaining, 48 homes that are completed at this point, and about a dozen to 2 dozen more that are actively under some of construction, whether it is the design process or getting ready to hand over. So it's really neat to see that. And it's been incredible to see the growth. I remember going out to Carmelita Gardens, maybe it was about 2016, 17 for the very first time. And I can say the growth over the last 4 to 5 years has been tremendous. It's been exponential. And again, a lot of that is stemming from COVID, when people realize we don't necessarily need to live in our home country anymore, or we want to have a plan B. We want to have a backup home. We want to have a place in the tropics that maybe we can just go spend time and be a snowbird. And Carmelita just made sense for a lot of people. So let's look back at this map over here at Carmelita Gardens. Like I mentioned, Spanish Lookout is about 7 miles. You continue down this road over here. Santa Familia, just half a mile down the road. So right out of the frame, but that's where the grocery store is. San Ignacio, 7 miles in this direction as well to the left. Here's your entrance coming in. And as you enter Carmelita Gardens, there is an area that's been allocated for the future pool. I know that Phil has been working on the design for it, so that they're planning to start sooner rather than later. In addition to that, the town square. As you continue through the property, something that I really appreciate is that Phil has allocated about 20% of the land. So we'll say rounding up about 20 acres of the land to be used as either a common area, green space, gardens, orchards. In Belize, you only need 10% as you're developing, 10% allocated to green space, but Phil doubled that. He's doing 20% that's allocated to green space. And I love it. I think that just goes to show, how much he really wanted to make this a community, a village, and not just a one-off home. When you're looking at properties in the Cayo district, it's fairly easy to find the one-off homes, but to find a village like this, find a master plan community where the roads are in, right? Where there's covenants and codes as to what can be built, where there are community centers and pools for the village, it's nearly impossible. And so Phil has done an incredible job at that. Now within Carmelita Gardens, this is something I think that makes it stand out compared to other properties that are being sold or other developments in Cayo that are being sold, is that when Phil was envisioning this property, what he really foresaw it to be, you get what I'm saying, is a village, is a place for people to come together, is a place with people who have a common thread to be able to connect. And here at Carmelita, he has included amenities that I have not seen in any other development. So for example, there's that 20% of land that's been allocated. There are a handful of owners who are on the gardening committee, and they have the orchards that are already there. They have the papaya trees, and there's just a large variety of orchards and plants already growing there at Carmelita Gardens. Now, if you want to have your own garden, if you want to plant your own tropical fruit trees on your property, of course, you're more than welcome to do that. And with the rich, fertile soil, you are absolutely able. You don't necessarily need a green thumb. Let me tell you that a lot of good things grow out there without having to have that green thumb. In addition to that, he has the pickleball court, the basketball court. There's river access from multiple parts of the property. And then like we talked about, the pool is coming. So here at Carmelita Gardens, you can really take the time to unwind, relax, or be as busy and active as you want to be. I know a handful of the owners here have bikes and e-bikes, and they'll go for bike rides around not just Carmelita, but within the surrounding areas. You can also just relax in the river. The Belize River is so incredibly beautiful. As you can see here at the middle picture there, you're just able to just go out. I know there's a group on Fridays, they'll go and just take the inner tubes around during dry season, take the inner tubes around and just sit back, bring a little cocktail with them and enjoy life in the tropics. Or of course, get together with some other residents and decompress doing yoga. So a lot of activities. What I think is pretty neat to see now is as the community is growing, as there are more people living there full time, homeowners are coming together and creating clubs, creating events, doing things that they have shared interests in, and then inviting others to do them. Something that I didn't have here, but I know that they did recently, was partner up with the local schools, and they had the kids come to Carmelita Gardens, and the different residents, if they wanted to participate, they could, but share some tidbits, some educational information with the students. So for example, there was one resident who talked about off-grid living and how solar works, which is pretty interesting. There's another who is a former music teacher, and so she was showing kids and teaching kids how to use the organ. So just depending on what your interests are and what you enjoy, what you're passionate about, you can convey that and do some work in the local community. And here are some different examples of homes that are at Carmelita. While Carmelita Gardens does have covenants and codes, a lot of that is to really protect the value of your home. You know, you can't build a 10-story pink lighthouse within Carmelita Gardens, but you can really get creative with what it is that you want. There are floor plans, a few different sets of floor plans if you need a little bit of inspiration. But if you're somebody who has an idea of what you want, then you can work specifically with the in-house design team and get that accomplished. The homes here are truly beautiful, and they're all very unique and offer a different sort of charm and different feel to them. So the smaller homes within Cottage Row, about 500 square feet, and then it ranges up to some homes are about 2,500 square feet. So it just depends on the space that you need. I will tend to say though in Belize, we tend to live outdoors, so you don't necessarily need tons of interior square footage. A lot of times what we'll do is add a lot of balcony space or veranda, and you can see that in all of these homes here. This one, Tamalita, is one of my favorite. It has a screened-in front porch, and then there's also a back porch there. Casablanca, I love how she did the exterior here, where you're just able to sip a cup of coffee and watch as the world goes by. The river escape, again, they did nice front porch and then veranda also. So the homes are really capturing the essence of being there in the tropics. So as we take a look a little bit further at the site map, at this point, less than 25% of the inventory remains available for ownership. Where you see the numbers, those are the properties that are available at this time. And then just depending on the location within the property and then the size of the property, it'll depend on what the asking price is. But you will see all the numbers that we're going to be mentioning, and you see here on the screen, are in US dollars. They are as of our webinar today, which is November 21st, 2024, and they are subject to change. I mentioned that because this is going to go up on YouTube later. And if somebody's listening a year from now, chances are the numbers will be higher. So just need to give that disclaimer there. But depending again on where you want to be will depend on what your numbers look like. But you can see the affordability here, lots starting at 39,000, going up to about 79,000 for a half acre on the river. One of my favorite parts about this project is that the developer is willing to finance on the lots. So if you're somebody who is just looking to get your foot in, you don't necessarily, want to be doing full cash at this time, you just want to hold on a little bit, you can do this really attractive financing for these green lots, so the green garden, the green village, and the green estates. The developer is offering 80% financing, 8% interest, 8-year term. So where you see these dark blue outlines, those are the properties that are being financed. These are the green garden lots that are being financed, or the green lots that are being financed. So 80% financing, 8% interest, 8-year term. If you're just looking for an example of numbers, this is lot number 50. One of my favorite areas of Carmelita. I'll share with you in a second why, but one of my favorites of favorite areas of Carmelita Gardens, 1/8 of an acre, going for 39,000. Down the numbers would be 7,800. This is again all in US dollars. So down out of pocket would be $7,800. You'd be financing 31,200, and your monthly payments would come out to $441.06 per month. And that is based on this financing right here, 80% financing, 8% interest, 8-year term. Of course, you can pay that off at any point with no penalties if it's early. But if you're just looking to secure your place right now and figure it out down the line, this is one of the easiest ways to do so. Now, I tell you that this is one of my favorite areas of Carmelita, and I say that because you can see the landscape around here. It's really quite lush. Now, like I mentioned to you, this was a cattle pasture. So, this is where cattle were roaming free, and this is an area that is very fertile over here. So you have the green trees, and you just have a lot more landscaping. Now, with that being said, it is fairly easy to be planting here. There is a landscaping team on site that can help you if you really want to customize what your landscaping looks like, but that's just an easy way to have some plants already there. If you're somebody who's considering owning on the riverfront, then there is some financing available as well. Do note that the terms are a little bit different, 50% financing, 8% interest, and a 4-year term. So a little bit more down and a shorter term for the financing. But we run some numbers on lot 157. So at 79,000 for a half an acre lot, it's about $40,000 down, financing about 40,000. And then your monthly payments come out to under $1,000 at $964.31. So again, affordable, no prepayment penalties, but this is an easy way to secure your lot. And as you can see, there are not many riverfront lots available at this time. So if you want to have that access to the river, be right there in front of the river, then this is a great way to do so. And coming back to this map for a second, so you can see throughout the property, there are different areas that have river access. So even if you're not necessarily right there on the river and you have a green lot, you are still going to be able to access the river should you decide you want to. Where you see this brown lot, follow my cursor right over here, this is the Riverside Park. And this Riverside Park is a great little area for you to just bring your little foldable chair and sit there by the river when you want some time to relax. So as we mentioned, there's a lot of construction that's happening at Carmelita Gardens. They're at various phases of the construction process. A handful of homes have been delivered in the last couple of months as well, which is really exciting to see. And I love that they have an in-house company and in-house team that will take care of the architectural design for you, and then also make sure that it is being built to exactly what it is you want. Now, let me just highlight a few of these Carmelita owner benefits. And I do find these to be important because as somebody who is in real estate here, I do find that each development is a little bit different. And these are huge reasons, huge significant benefits to owners within Carmelita. One is that there's no build timeline requirement. So you are not obligated to build your home in X amount of years. You can begin building when you are ready. Like we mentioned, there's an in-house team that will make it as easy for you as you can imagine. You give them an idea of what you're looking for. You can work off of their floor plans. You can work on your own floor plan with them, but they'll see your vision come to life, which is really neat. In addition to that, there's an affordable community fund, and an affordable community fee. And I do mention this because it's only $43 US a month, and it really helps to maintain the value of your property. One of the big benefits of being in a master plan community is that there are roads, and the roads are all accessible, and the property is kept clean, and the common areas are kept clean. There's a maintenance team. There's also a community center. When we think about the third spaces that will be coming in soon, like a pool, all of that will help to contribute to keeping it clean and maintaining it. These are also really incredible resale benefits. So down the line, when you want to resell, you know that the property is being maintained. And then last but not least, we talked about this in the last couple of slides with the attractive developer financing. There are not many developers that are willing to offer financing. In Belize, it is nearly impossible for foreigners to get financing from the local banks here. So it is typically up to the developer to offer that. Now, note these are for the lots, the gardens and the green lots we talked about, and also the river lots. It's not going to be financing on the build. So I do want to make sure that that part is clear, but you are able to finance on the lot. And then, of course, you can start construction at any point, even if you are financing the lot. So just something to note as well. So just as a quick recap, one, there's no build timeline requirement. Two, there's a very affordable community fund of only $43 US per month. Again, this can change though, just depending on what numbers are and costs are to maintain, but they've been able to keep this very low over the years. And then three, there's attractive developer financing. Gardens lots, only 20% down, 8% interest, 8-year term. River lots, 50% down, 8% interest, and a 4-year term. So again, if you have a specific lot in mind, what we can do is just go through the plan with you and then run numbers based on what it is and how it is that you'd like to own it, and then have it just be more applicable to your specific situation. Now, if you're already looking for a home that is constructed and built, there are a few resales on the market right now. Not many, but just a few. This is Casa Tortuga, the first one. It is on the river. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. This is one of the most affordable homes at Carmelita Gardens right now for only $252,000. And as you can see from the picture here, there are split AC units within the house. Something that I want to mention about Carmelita Gardens is that even though it's off-grid, you're not necessarily losing out on any comfort that you may have. So AC, for example, I know for many of us that are coming from the north, that is something that is important. In addition to that, hot water, Those are things that maybe sometimes when you're thinking off-grid that aren't usually included, but that is something that typically is standard within the builds here. And again, with that in-house team, what you'll do is talk to them about what you're looking to accomplish, and they'll help you figure out the best way to accomplish it, and then also help with that off-grid system to ensure that you are building and integrating a system that meets your needs. The second resale home that we have here is Casa Carmelita. This is a gardens home, and this is one of my favorite properties here because of the two verandas. You can see this is one of the front porches. It's screened in, has that high ceiling. Like, this is the perfect porch where if you just want to be eating breakfast and relaxing, looking out across the way at the gardens, you have the perfect view for that. This is going for $293, and then Casablanca. This is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, also with a loft, and this one is really quite beautiful. It has a cupola and then a loft as well, and you can see it's a very open floor plan here. But if you are interested in any of these, this is obviously just a snapshot. Please do reach out to us, info@lunarealtybelize.com, info@lunarealtybelize.com, and we'll get those details over to you. There's a lot more to talk about with these properties. They're also incredibly beautiful and unique, but I can tell you that the owners, none of them have spared any expenses here. They're all very comfortable, and they're really built to the North American standards that I think many of us expect. So I promised you that there were going to be a couple of webinar specials, and I did talk to the developer. There are 2 lots right now that he is willing to offer discounts on. So the Green Village lot number 12, this is 1/4 of an acre right over here, starting at $49,000. He's now offering it for $44,000, and then also Gardens lot number 63. This is 1/8 of an acre. This is going for $36,000. So these are some of the lowest prices that you'll see for these lots within the community. So if you're somebody who is interested in just picking something up now and figuring out what you want to do later, these could be great options for you. He is also willing to finance. It won't be the same terms that we saw in the previous slides, but just reach out to us with the subject line CG special for Carmelita Gardens special, and we can talk to you more specifically about those. If you had any other properties though, I'm gonna just scroll back a little bit. If you had any other properties here that you were interested in, you can see any with the numbers, feel free to reach out to us and our team can gladly talk to you about those specifically as well. There are a lot of properties, so we want to make sure you're looking at ones that best serve what you are looking to accomplish. So we invite you to join the family at Carmelita Gardens. I think something that Phil has done really incredibly well is bring together a great group of like-minded individuals. And what I think is so important about what he's done, and you can't put a price tag on it, is creating a community, is creating a village. You know, you have other like-minded individuals who are around you. And I can tell you, like I said before, there are many one-off homes within Cayo, but there are not many homes within a community like this. So if you are looking to be somewhere that's comfortable and safe and have neighbors, you know, and have amenities, then Carmelita Gardens tends to be a no-brainer for folks. But with that being said, I think we're at about the half-hour, 40-minute mark. What I'm going to do is invite folks to jump in and ask any questions, and we can certainly get those answered for you. So Paul is saying, what is the age range of the residents at Carmelita Gardens? Are they generally over 65? Great question. So initially when Phil was starting Carmelita Gardens, it was being seen as a retirement community. You know, back in 2010, the whole concept of working remotely was not necessarily a thing. Now though, as more folks are able to work from their computer, have great Wi-Fi, that's a question we get a lot. There's great Wi-Fi at Carmelita Gardens and they can still work. We find that age has gotten lower. Now we do have a handful of residents who do still work. They work remotely on their computer, but I'd say about 45 to 65 is about the age range for folks at Carmelita Gardens. All right, great question, Paul. With the recent storm, did the bordering river flood into Carmelita Gardens? Great question. Yes, there was flooding at Carmelita Gardens. You know, it's not actually something that's uncommon in the Cayo district, especially if you are on a river. I know we own a riverfront property, and intentionally, I mean, I just can't get over the views of the river. So I was so insistent on getting the riverfront property. We know that the river floods, so you build elevated. You will tend to find that the homes along the river are elevated, just in case of any flooding. Also though, building elevated helps you to get really nice breezes and not as many mosquitoes as you continue to get up to the second floor. So there are multiple reasons for building higher, but yes, that is something that is absolutely should be considered. But again, that's something that the architectural team will work with you on as you are designing your home. Yeah, great question, Paul. And then in addition to that, you typically know when a storm is coming, so you can prepare. And so there is a team that's there on site that does property management. And so if you're not there in person, they can certainly help you to make sure your home is prepared. Paulson, can you explain lot number 35? Yes, okay. So lot number 35, next to the brown. Where are we at here? So any area that's brown is considered a civic lot. So that's something that would be for the common community, for the common areas, or something that's a little bit more commercial. So for example, where you see this show right over here, this is considered a civic lot, and this civic lot is getting an Airbnb rental on it. Now, that homeowner can decide at any point that he doesn't want to be renting out the property and he can live in it full time, but he was building it more so with the intention of it being a rental property, which leads me into the next question here is, are there properties to rent at Carmelita Gardens? And we get this question a lot. I know a lot of people are so curious to see what it's like to be out here at Carmelita. At this time, there are no homeowners that are renting out their property, especially as we get into the winter months here. Many of them who are snowbirding will come down for the season, but it's not to say that you cannot rent it out. I actually think that long-term rentals at Carmelita would do so well, because you think about the people who are planning to build, and if they're planning to be in Belize during that build, then of course they'll want to be staying on property. So I think a long-term rental would do really, really well in this community. And that's where one of the homes that are already completed, I think would do great from somebody who's planning to spend time as their home is getting built out here. Is there a penalty for early payoff if financed? Nope, no penalty at all. So it's a very nice benefit as well. If you have a boat, can you get to the ocean from Carmelita Gardens? So you can, of course, have your boat, park your boat at Carmelita, but I'm going to just come back to the map over here. So Carmelita is in the Cayo district. And so you're going to be about an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours from the ocean, from the Caribbean Sea. So you can always just, carry the boat on the back of your truck or your car, right? Just have it follow along behind you. But it's not necessarily, Carmelita is not on the ocean. Now you can have a canoe, which is always fun. You can always have a kayak or something for the rivers, which I know a handful of the homeowners do that. If you're not necessarily that sporty, just get a nice big inner tube and then you can float down the river. But yeah, Patty, yeah, you can have a boat and park it in your driveway, but you'll have a little bit of trek to get to the ocean. So in the Cayo district, you tend to find more of the rivers, jungles, hiking trails, Mayan ruins, and then Caribbean will be about an hour and a half, I'd say about 2 hours from where Carmelita Gardens is located. And I know a lot of times when people are going to the Caribbean from Carmelita, they'll tend to come down to the south area over here. There's Placencia and Hopkins, which are two very popular coastal towns, or they'll come into Belize City and then head out to the Keys, Key Cocker, Ambergris Key. It's a great, easy vacation getaway. So yeah, great questions there. All right, I'm seeing a lot of similar questions come in about financing. Correct, no penalty for early prepayment. I'm going to come back to this map here too, so that we can just look at it a little bit more. And so you can see the lots. There we go. So again, those brown lots are the civic lots, more of the commercial lots. And then where you see this triangle here, this upside down triangle, this is where the future pool is. And so they've already been working on the plans for the pool. So it's great. You don't need to build your own pool. You'll be able to use a community one, or if at any point you wanted to go into the river, I would say you do that more so during dry season. The river's a little shallower then, but you can obviously do that by getting into the areas where it says river access if your home is not located directly on the river. And then, like we were mentioning before, you can see all of the green space that was allocated for gardens and orchards and all of that, which is pretty neat. And then in this area, right over here, this is where we have, see where that brown lot is with the home, that's the Cottage Park West, that's the community center. And then behind Cottage Park West, you have a bunch of gardens over there. And even behind lot 122 and 123, these two are available, but behind those lots, you have some citrus plants. You also have papaya that's there. So you have you're backing up to some really neat plants. This one's saying, I heard Paul saying, I heard Phil mention shops. Is that what we're talking about? Yep, for the civic lot. So the brown lots is really anything that can be considered for the community. So civic lots can be shops. It can be a little school. It can be a little chapel if you wanted to have a chapel there. And what's neat is that he's really reserving this for the homeowners. So if there's something that you want to be putting there, I think what would be great is like a little like we have a place in Ambergris Key called Truck Stop where it's a few little food vendors and they have a few different types of food there. I think something like that at Carmelita could go really well, where you just have a few different options, especially as we're starting to see Carmelita become more populated and also the surrounding area to be able to accommodate Santa Familia. There's always going to be folks from Santa Familia who are looking for some good dining options there. But of course, it's up to you and to deciding what you think is important for the community to have. Yeah, great questions. All right, so what I'm going to do here, folks, is we'll get everybody over this recording who is on the session with us live. If you're listening on YouTube, feel free to reach out to us. Best email address would be info@lunarealtybelize.com, info@lunarealtybelize.com. In the subject line, if you're emailing us, please make sure you use CG special, so that we know to inform you about this. This is a special offer for the folks who are listening. We want to thank you for your time and for joining us on this lovely evening. We hope we hear from you soon, and hopefully we get to see you in Belize at some point in the near future. All right, bye everyone.